you are a BDSM professional.
The gentle side, the articulate side is always going to be a part of me, but then I'm like, don't you fucking move.
Ooh.
I've been able to make women actually come from putting fire and temperature play on their private parts.
Coming without penetration.
Yes.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Love Bites by Dr. Tara podcast. Today with us, okay, I'm a little bit scared actually because, I've seen his social and all of those, but today with us is Sir Marvelous.
Yes.
Who is the kink consultant and pleasure coach.
Yes.
Welcome to Love Bites,
Thank
Sir
you.
Marvelous.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm a huge fan. I'm kind of geeking out right now. I love your work. I love the enthusiasm. And I love the fact that you're changing the world one post at a time. So thank you so much.
And you too. What you do is very interesting.
Yes.
And despite the fact that people think it's like a niche thing, I don't think so.
Absolutely not. And I'm hoping that by the end of this conversation, people realize that what I do and what we speak about is not far-fetched at all. It's going to be very healing and eye-opening. So,
healing.
yes.
That's a good word.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a BDSM professional.
Yes, I am.
What does that mean?
All right. So I am a professional BDSM dominant and, like you mentioned, an intimacy coach. That's just basically a fancy way of saying that if a person was interested in learning about kink, BDSM, exploring fantasies in a safe, consensual way, I'm the perfect person to start with. We can actually go on an actual journey where I can give you practical examples of how to apply different kink plays and things of that nature so that you can know how it's supposed to be done when it's done right. So I work with individual women. I work with couples. I do coaching online. So there's no conversation we can't have when it comes to talking about the lifestyle.
So what happens when like a woman's like, ooh, I want to try BDSM and they just kind of book an appointment with you?
Well, I like that you asked that question. The first thing is going to be a consultation, just where we get an opportunity to discuss some of the interests. I always start with a kink quiz.
A kink quiz?
Yes.
What does that entail?
So that entails answering questions about all different types of plays, even plays that you may not be familiar with. And what I love about that is that gives me an opportunity to kind of define some of those plays. Because sometimes people may have a misunderstanding about what a particular play may look like.
Right.
For example, when they hear bondage, like we're going to talk about what BDSM stands for later, but when they hear bondage, they only think about the idea of being restricted.
Mm-hmm.
There are different forms of bondage play, different forms of rope play that can just be artistic. The idea of wearing rope.
I'm so excited about this conversation. You have no idea. Because this is just the world that I've been in the peripheral for a long time. Like I have a lot of tools at home. Just been in the peripheral. But I actually have never been in a dungeon with a dominant.
Okay.
Yeah. I've interviewed a lot of dominatrixes, but not a male dominant.
Ooh. And that's another rarity, I would say.
Yeah.
It's not as many people that I know that do what I do, especially the way that I do it. So
right.
Yeah.
How can one become like an expert in this field? How did you get here?
Like anything else, 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours of flogging and
10,000
fires.
hours of flogging and beating people. No, not at all. Let me not say that. But no, seriously, it's about trying to master one's craft and understanding that you never learn enough. I'm an avid student. I just brought a kink bundle the other day with like 23 other educators. Like even with as much as I know, as many experiences that I've had, I'm always searching out new knowledge and ways to, fine tune what I already know.
You seem so gentle as a dominant.
Oh, it's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of a thing. I have multiple personalities, which creates an even bigger or better experience when people work with me. Because, the gentle side, the articulate side is always going to be a part of me. But then I'm like, don't you fucking move.
Ooh.
All right.
So I feel that. Did you guys feel that? So for all the men, all the boys and guys and men watching, how can they learn from this?
So what we're going to talk about today is a lot of different ways that we can use BDSM as a way to arouse ourselves and especially our partners. There's a lot of miseducation when it comes to what turns on women and what brings women to an orgasm. And I kind of want to just chop at those and show people that foreplay is the way. Taking your time, building up that arousal within the body, stimulating the mind by having certain conversations, eliminating anxiety by telling a person what's about to happen, but not necessarily telling them the order in which it's going to happen. So it's still kind of spontaneous.
Yeah.
And just really showing people that BDSM is not what we've seen on television. That's just one perspective. And it's usually more the dramatized version of it because they're looking for clickbait even before clickbait was a thing. They're looking for something something to kind of shock the audience and things of that nature. And the reality is, most intimacy we see on television isn't the way we experience it at home. So why would BDSM be any different? So,
So safe to say, people listening and watching after this episode, they can level up their sex life.
I got some dope tips. Yes.
Okay. All right. Without further ado, let's do first question.
Yeah.
What does BDSM stand for?
Okay, so BDSM is an acronym term that is, it stands for bondage, discipline, submission, and sadomasochism. And I know I don't personally care for those terms because sometimes it leaves people more confused than it actually helps. Like, what? Sadomasochism, da-da-da-da. But I like to break it down. And if I can, I'll give a few examples. So bondage is basically a person who can derive pleasure from the idea of different forms of being physically restricted and or mentally restricted by a partner that they trust. So we can use rope, we can use handcuffs, we can use St. Andrew's crosses, or I can just simply tell you, don't you fucking move. So there are many different ways that you can derive pleasure from the idea of feeling like you're kind of restricted, because it's a form of sensory deprivation to some degree. When you prevent a person from being able to move, they feel everything. Their sensation level kind of increases.
So when people hear bondage, I think they think handcuffs.
Yes.
But you're saying you can also just do emotional bondage?
Yeah, you can do mental bondage, right?
Like and what is that?
Don't you fucking move until I get back.
Damn.
That's an example. Sometimes you don't even need to use tools. Sometimes you can just pin your lover's hands down while you make love to them. That's a form of bondage. These are different ways. And, when you realize that these are umbrella terms, you realize, hey, I do love when he uses his body or she uses her body to pin me down. Even face sitting could be...
You're already doing bondage.
Yes, you're already doing it. And if these things really bring you joy or really push you to that point of climax, then you might want to experiment with other types of bondage as well. So moving on to BDSM, so we have the dominance part, right? But I like to tell people that my definition of dominance is very different than what people think. Most people think it's about being aggressive, it's about spanking, wearing leather, all of that. I think it's about taking that leadership role and being in that pleaser position, basically having the plan, especially for people when you're working with a partner or you're dealing with a partner who is usually like the leader in most other elements of their lives. They're bosses, they run businesses, they are parents, and everybody's depending on them. They have to make all the decisions. And it's like, now I get home and now you want me to take lead in the bedroom too?
Right.
Like, why can't you have a plan? Why can't you tell me what's going on? Like, why can't you take care of these little things and, leave me with, excitement and anticipation about what's about to happen next?
That's so true.
So,
especially for modern women who do have a job and
so
a lot
much.
of times like high pressure jobs.
Yes.
They just want to be dominated, man.
And it's also, I want to be very clear, it's not gender specific.
Right.
I'm a dominant. People ask me all the time, are you like always dominant? I'm like, no. I actually love the idea of switching. I love the idea of turning off that dominant side and just laying back and my partner saying, it's about you tonight. I'm just going to please you. I got some things in my bag I want to pull out. I love when she does that, and it's just like, oh, I'm excited now myself, so.
We love that.
Yes.
And then S&M.
So when we're talking about the sadomasochism part, the sadist is someone who derives pleasure from the idea of impacting different forms of pleasurable pain. I want to emphasize the words pleasurable pain under the right context. So an example of that could be like, if I were to walk up to you and just pull your hair in the middle of the street, you would probably beat me up and I'll end up in jail. But if I'm a trusted partner and we're making love and we're in the heat of passion and I decide to pull your hair at that moment, it might be something that kind of like takes you over the top. Like, I love that. Same thing when it comes to choking or spanking ass, during like intercourse and things of that nature. That might be the thing, the cherry on top that takes it to the next level, right? Because the context in which we're doing that feels good. So there are many different ways that you can impact or you can engage in things that would normally be painful in other contexts, but be very pleasurable under the right context.
And what's an example of that?
I love that you asked that. A great example of that is impact play. Impact play is most commonly recognized as like spankings, paddling, the flogging that you see a lot of us doing in BDSM. And one of the biggest things that people get wrong when they see it on the outside looking in is they think it's all about pain. They think it's about intensity, hitting a person as hard as you can. I'm like, whoa. Has nothing to do with any of that. Sometimes it's about just providing a sensational experience to your partner. Like the floggers that I have here with me, I can just drag that across the person's naked body while they're tied up, blindfolded, and I'm talking dirty things in their ear. And that could be enough to drive them insane. you know? But when we're talking about actually impacting a person with a tool, that's when we're talking about the science of blood flow. That's when we're getting into the art of, you know, pushing that blood to those erogenous areas that when they get filled with blood, they increase in sensitivity and they aid in arousal and in orgasm.
So it's science, baby.
Yes. And I know we were going to connect on that because we are big nerds.
Yeah. Can we show some of these tools?
Yes. So
when you say impact play, like that looks like some ancient shit.
Yes. But when you touch it, you could imagine that. Like again, just drag it across, you know, your arm and
I feel like it has a lot of energy.
Yes, it definitely does. And again, you know, sometimes just dragging that across while you're giving the person affirmations or talking dirty to them, that alone could be enough for an experience. And when you add like clitoral stimulation and other forms of stimulation at the same time, you already have an experience that's unforgettable.
Since you said dirty talk, what's like one of your favorite phrases?
You're safe.
Oh, yes. I didn't think that. That's so wholesome.
Yes. We're doing a lot of crazy things.
And so is that arousing?
It's very arousing. You know, again, I'm a big believer in eliminating anxiety. I love affirmations. As much as I love the idea of calling somebody a greedy little cum slut, I love the idea of telling somebody you're safe, you're beautiful, you're doing such a good job. Keep doing that.
I bet all the type A women are like, yes, tell me I'm doing a good job.
So, yeah.
My assistant right there, an A student, probably really loves being told she's doing a good job.
But I also like calling people greedy.
Yeah.
I love that, you know. So
greedy?
Greedy. I want you to be greedy.
Ooh, that's
you're
so
allowed
sexy.
To be greedy. Yes. So, you know, dirty talk is not always like, again, about degradation, even though it can be. And that could be fun. I like to mix it up and go back and forth between the two. Because when you put the word like my in front of something, my slut, my whore, my such and such, it's a big difference than just calling somebody a particular derogatory name. Yes.
Just add my.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now we know what BDSM is.
Yes.
What are some common practices that people might not realize are actually BDSM?
All right. So an example of that is asphyxiation play, which is just choking. You know, the act of restricting a person's airflow so that everything kind of like slows down and it intensifies the sensations within the body. A lot of people have been choked during sex, you know, hopefully the right way, safely, consensually.
Yeah. Always safely.
Always safe and consensually. But people don't realize that there are different ways that you can tap into different forms of asphyxiation play. I love the idea of putting my lips on my partner's lips and just kind of sucking the air out of her throat.
Oh.
Yes, while my hand is wrapped around her throat. You know, it's a very powerful power play.
I'm thinking about it.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. So, and it could leave you to lead you to feeling kind of
move.
It can lead you to feeling very loopy for that moment. There are a lot of endorphins that are released when we experience moments of pleasure and, you know, ecstasy or different, you know, things like that. And when you learn to work with those endorphins or have them released in a timely fashion, you can leave the body feeling intoxicated without the need of any, you know, drugs or alcohol or anything like that. This is where you hear a lot of the terms like subspace and dom space and sub drop and dom drop, because you're literally feeling like you're coming down from a very, very powerful high.
Wow. That's crazy to me, but like that's so cool.
Yes.
You said safety a couple of times,
yes.
So I want to shout out our sponsor, My One Condoms, because safer sex is the most important. Safer sex is the best kind of sex, and One Condom's amazing. It's my favorite condom brand, and they have 52 different sizes.
Ooh.
Let me ask you: is this a custom suit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they do custom condoms.
What?
Yeah. So pick this up and show us how big your dick is. So you can measure the length of your penis, then measure the girth this way. And then you can submit these numbers and get your custom condoms from My One Condoms.
That is beautiful. I've never seen anything like this. And I think it's
incredible, isn't it?
Yes. No more excuses.
No more excuses. Because like, you know, just when you arrived, we were all like, wow, you look great. Like you look sharp. Right?
I appreciate
because you
that.
have a custom suit on.
Yes.
So why wouldn't you want to be naked with your custom condoms?
Oh, I love the sound of that.
It's the most baller move, is to like pull, you know, your drawer and be like, hey, baby, no worries. I have my custom made condoms. Yes.
And it's amazing because I did say that about some of my toys. I was like, I love them because they were custom made for me.
There you go.
It's just on brand.
And now you get custom condoms too.
Yeah.
So definitely check out My One Condoms. Link in the episode description. And yeah, get your custom condoms, please. It will give you confidence, reduce your anxiety, because you just never know when you go get some random shit from
and
Walgreens.
Most importantly, stay safe.
And most importantly, safer sex is the best sex. Okay, so you have a lot of tools here, and I mentioned that this one looks scary.
Yes.
So
I'm happy we get to talk about this one because this one is actually one of my favorite toys, right? This is a metal flogger. And I always tell people that I love to define my style as a mixture between being intimidating and sensual. And I truly believe that you're going to empathize with this because it gets real sciencey, right? So I love the idea of making someone nervous because I do believe that there's a positive side to being nervous. Like we know the negative, like bad news, things are happening that we don't really care for, but there's a good nervous system side where we're excited about going on a roller coaster or going on a trip or something exciting about to happen. Butterflies, right? Those types of nerves can really add value to an experience because when your nervous system is on high, you feel everything. So again, I love the idea of walking towards somebody with something like this and they go, whoa, sir, what do you think you're about to do with that? And then when they touch it,
whoa, it's so soft.
Yes. That is the mindfuck that I love to provide. I love the idea, again, you've already learned something. You realize not to judge a book by its cover or not to judge a tool by its cover, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Because again, it looked very
lesson.
It looked very, painful or scary, right? But when you touch it, you realize it's a lot more playful. And it's a lot of it's the same way I do a lot of the other acts that I do. You think something's going to be more painful than it is, and then when you feel it, you're like, oh my God, do that one more time. But the aesthetic kind of keeps that brain and that body battling back and forth because your eyes are seeing something that's scary and your body is feeling something that it loves. So, right there, we got that mental stimulation going. So I want to give you one example of how I would use this. Of course, I could use this to spank a person, right? But I love to use this for temperature play. The idea of putting this in the freezer, making it cold. I could put it with fire play, make it warm. I could use it with electric play, make it electrified. I can just use it with a vibrator and just drag it across a person's inner thighs or their nipples and things like that. Or I could just use it for ASMR, right? Again, a lot of people tend to be, blindfolded and tied up when they have an experience with me. So when you hear this walking towards you, you have no idea what's about to come. And already I have them excited and anticipating, like, what is it going to feel like? Where is he going to go next?
You're about to sell like thousands of those right now. Everyone watching and listening is like, where can I get one like that? But talking about that and my first initial reaction being like, ooh, that's scary. I think that's related to like the fact that I'm thinking it's going to be very painful. Yes. So my next question is, does BDSM always involve pain?
Absolutely not. It is not necessary. It's not a key component at all. It's not a key ingredient. I don't know how many different ways I can say that, but it does not have to be painful at all. It's about providing an experience that both you and your partner will enjoy. So if your partner does enjoy pain or intensity, then that's fine. But the majority of us want to feel, cherished. We want to feel safe. We want to feel desired. We want to feel that mental stimulation that I was speaking about before. And none of that requires it to be painful.
Right.
So please get that out of your mind. If you think that it has to be painful, absolutely not.
Okay. Talking about something that people fear, like what's a common fear that people have when they want to start trying BDSM?
Most popular fear is like being tied up. I don't want to be tied up because I don't want something to happen to me and I'm no longer in control of like how to stop it, right? And this is something that can easily be, avoided. That anxiety, that fear can easily be kind of like pushed to the side by just simply having conversations and only engaging with these types of acts with people that you genuinely trust, developing that relationship so you can get to the point where you could experiment with things that kind of do make you feel nervous. Because like I mentioned, there's nothing wrong with being nervous. A little anticipation is great, but the idea that that you have a way of communicating with a person if something gets a little bit too far. That's why we talk about safe words in BDSM a lot. I love the traffic light signals, green, yellow, red. Sounds exactly what it sounds like, or it is exactly what it sounds like. Green means go, everything's good. Yellow means slow down, check in. Red just means stop. And
like, red.
Yeah, but we only think about the red, right? But what about the ways that we can give feedback to our partner in a positive? Green, right? Green. How often have we been having sex and you tell somebody they don't stop or keep it right there and they change it up? So sometimes just saying green,
sometimes
just saying green is a great way to communicate that I'm enjoying myself, to get feedback. And, we love affirmations. So, yeah.
Talking about enjoying ourselves, obviously, when clients come to you, you tailor the experience based on what they want, right? Can you share some of these like fantasies or the things that your clients want to do or want you to do to them?
Okay, so I'm going to give you two. One that's on the beginner gentle side, and then one which is going to sound a lot more advanced than it actually is.
Okay.
All right. The first one is that the majority of women have never really experienced orgasms, true orgasms. They've never been in an experience where it was focused on them because they're so used to performing. They're so used to faking orgasms. They're so used to having to worry about what they look like and all of these different things, all of these different moving parts. So the biggest fantasy on a beginner level is just to have something where I'm able to be pleasured and I don't have any pressure about doing anything.
No reciprocity.
No reciprocity.
I'm just here to receive.
I'm just here to receive. And it is going to be an orgasmic experience, which again, I've had clients that have been married for many years in these big ages, and they're like, I've had sex all my life and I can't tell you if I've actually had an orgasm before. So that's part of it, right? On a simple level. Now, what I would say most people would think advanced, but it's not so much.
Advanced level.
Is CNC. Consensual, non-consensual sex, which is basically like rape fantasies or like,
forced sex
and things of that nature. It's a very taboo topic. I know, again, it could be triggering to some people. I hope it's not. Right. But it's something that people love the idea of feeling like you desire me so much that like you can't control yourself.
Right.
And this is why sometimes people may have had sex with, partners that they know or identify as toxic, but the sex was really good because even though this person is maybe not the best person for you, but when it was time to have sex, their desire was so powerful. It was there. It was evident. It was clear. And it brought you to orgasms in ways that you never thought possible. This is something I hear often.
And that's one of the requests.
Yeah, so I have different tiers of packages that I provide, and the top tier is usually like a CNC experience where I can give you like directions on what you're going to do for the day, and it's kind of like
the whole day, like a whole thing.
Yes.
Wow,
it's an experience, but
my probing question is like, what's like the shortest session you do, and what's like the longest session you do?
Okay, so I have a beginner session, which I'm actually about to just stop promoting because nobody ever books that one, especially after the consultation. Like I have a session that's available for 1 hour, right? But when you think about it, like my negotiations take pretty long. I always try to incorporate a massage. Not always try, excuse me. I always do what I call a sensual massage or a marvelous massage because I want people to give an opportunity to get out of their heads and into their bodies. A lot of people are traveling to my dungeon from across the country and getting off planes and trains and Ubers and all this stuff. And it's just like, now we're going to jump right into it. That's unrealistic. Let's talk about things. Let's get to know each other, build a little bit of a rapport. Let me give you a tour of my dungeon. Let me give you some demonstrations of some of the things that I'm going to do, how I'm going to keep you safe. And then even after that, let's talk about having an hour massage before we get into the other stuff. So the idea that we're going to do something in an hour just isn't realistic. My average session is about 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is an experience.
It's like definitely an experience.
It's like going to a spa,
yes,
right?
Yes.
You can get like a quick 1 hour massage, but then like why not go to the steam room, the sauna,
I warn people, don't plan anything. Just let the whole day be about your experience.
That's so fun. So I have to ask this: does BDSM always include sex?
No. That's the best thing that I want to talk about. My sessions do not include sex at all. I'm fully dressed throughout my entire experience.
In this outfit?
Not in this outfit. I'm going to greet you in this outfit, but then I do change it to something a little bit more comfortable so I don't have to worry about getting oil and all these other things on my suits. But I'm fully dressed throughout the entire experience. There's like, again, it's about them. It's about me. Are your
clients naked?
My clients are naked, yeah. And I'm using toys on them and different things like that to bring them to orgasm. Sometimes it doesn't even require me to go in the area of the genitalia. Sometimes I'm able to make people come from just spanking them, from talking to them, from just choking with them. Like, you
can make people come from talking to them?
I have.
How much are these sessions?
They're not cheap. They're not cheap.
Basically, check out your website.
Yes, check out my website.
Okay. So what are ways that you incorporate all the senses into your sessions?
So, like I said, I define my style as a combination of intimidation and sensuality, or sensual, right? And I like to use the word sensual because I like to play off the word senses. I like the idea of incorporating every sense that we have. When you walk into my dungeon, each one of the rooms in my dungeon has a different smell. And it smells beautiful. Yes. The colors of the clouds that you see on the ceiling, the color of the paint that's on the wall is very intentional. I'm a big fan of chess. And when I picked out
chess and chess.
Yes. I'm actually going to launch something called Pawns and Paddles, which is going to be like a kinky chess school.
Oh my God, so fun.
So
wow, he's a Renaissance man.
So when I saw the paint, the name of the paint was called Knight's Armor. I was like, I gotta have that for my dungeon. Wow. Everything is intentional. The flooring, up, everything. And again, so we're talking about the way it smells when you walk in, the way it looks when you walk in, the temperature. I'm always conscious about making sure that it's warm. People don't understand the value of like making sure the temperature is right when you're trying to have an intimate moment. Nobody wants to be freezing, right? No. You know, things like that. And then also that mental stimulation and what you see, what you feel, all of that. Everything is going to be incorporated in that experience.
It's all senses being stimulated.
All senses being stimulated. Like I mentioned, you know, with something like this, this is your hearing, ASMR. You know, I have a lot of toys that when you impact a person with it, it resonates throughout the room. You hear it, but when you feel it, it's like, oh, but that felt so good. It was so loud, but it felt so good. So again, you're locked into that experience. So many people, especially women, have a hard time staying focused during pleasurable moments because you are in charge of so much. So when you can involve as many of the senses as you can, it's going to help them lock in more.
Yeah, that is so true because we are distracted.
Like, how do I look? What is this? What do I do the laundry? And I have to send this email.
Where is your dungeon?
My dungeon is located in New York City, but I am going to be opening up another dungeon in Atlanta.
Wow. Yes. Why? Like a lot of clientele?
Well, I plan to
Atlanta is like the new Hollywood.
Yeah, it is. It is. I love it. And I plan on moving down there myself. I am going to keep the dungeon in New York as well, but I definitely want to move to Atlanta just for my personal living reasons.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And in your current dungeon in New York, how long have you had that?
I've had that one for a little over 2 years. And then prior to that, I was located in New Jersey.
Okay. And you decorate like the whole thing and you have all your tools and beds.
It's beautiful. I like to say that my dungeon is an extension of me. The way that I like to keep myself together, nice and tailored and sharp and custom, like you said, is the same way that I want my dungeon to look. So the biggest misconception is that dungeons have to be like dirty and scary, rats running around. And it's just pee, lots of pee. And like, nah, you know, I can create little, you know, moments where it feels like you're in this rusty dungeon, but it'll never actually be dirty because I'm a very hygienic person. Like, I love the idea of everything being clean to a T. So, you know, you can play out this fantasy, but it's going to be, you know, safe the entire time. You know,
What's your favorite part of your dungeon?
My favorite part of my dungeon is a piece of furniture I call the trifecta. It's a bed. It's a cage, and it's a St. Andrew's cross all at the same time.
What?
Yes.
Wait, a bed, a cage, and a cross.
All at the same time. Yes.
I need to see this.
Yes. And
is it online?
I can show you a picture. I can definitely show you a picture of it.
Like,
for sure.
Can we do a pop-up on YouTube so people can see?
Of course, absolutely.
Wow. And where did you purchase this item?
I'm glad that you actually.
Like, it's not IKEA.
No, it's definitely not IKEA.
IKEA or Ashley's furniture. I'm like, hello. I have a picture for reference. Do you have this?
A good friend of mine by the name of Sir Daniel, who is also another professional dominant. And
do you all go by Sir?
Not everyone, honestly, but I like the word sir because, again, I'm a big chess fan and I'm a big fan of the medieval times. So my fantasy is to be a knight. I remember one of my favorite experiences was a good friend of mine by the name of Mistress Smalley. She threw a party in a castle.
Oh, wow.
A 3-day lifestyle party in a castle. I'm talking about a moat. It was beautiful. The only thing I wish they had was horses. I was walking around the castle with a knight's uniform on, pulling women out consensually out of their rooms, dragging them to the courts to be. It was. I'll tell you the rest later, but it was very, very sexy.
May I be invited next time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, so, you know, that's the reason why I like the Sir thing, because again, I like the idea of being a knight in the medieval times and rescuing the princess and taking her to my dungeon and, you know.
Like Mario and Luigi.
Yes. But she keeps getting caught by the same guy. I'm wondering if it's
maybe
a thing.
She's into CNC.
Yeah, right.
So you said your friend Sir Daniel.
Sir Daniel, yes.
Made the bed.
Yes, he made the bed. He made my spanking bench. He made the crosses. He's even helped. I have some floggers that he's made for me. Like anything that you could possibly think of that is kink related, he could probably make custom for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that like his daytime occupation?
And being a professional dominant and educator, he's been in the lifestyle of education. Have well over 20 years as it relates to talking about kink and BDSM and things of that nature.
And how do you come to know all the people in your community? Like, okay, when you were a teenager, like you weren't Sir Marvelous. No. Like, how did you enter?
I actually got tricked into going to my first swingers party.
Stop.
Yes. Everybody knew me for being sex positive even before I knew the term sex positive. I love being a nerd. I love learning about pleasure and different things that I can do to increase the experiences that I'm having with me and my partners. So they knew me for that. So somebody actually took me to a party, unbeknownst to me that it was a swingers party. But I didn't have a problem with it when I got there. It wasn't my crowd. They were nice, they were kind, but they were just a lot older than I was. And it was just, that wasn't it for me. Mm-hmm. But I did say, I need to find places that are more my crowd, more my speed. And I went on the journey of going to different events and looking up different things and meeting people and connecting. Like, for example, I started following your page not too long ago, and now we're here. And I'm hoping that we remain friends and we do things, and you come to the next Castle event and things like that.
I will.
That's how things like that come about. You are
Just
deliberate
and
reaching out, right, and making those connections,
building connections.
Yes,
love that. But your clients find you online.
They find me online. Like I had a client last night. We had an amazing experience, and she said she's followed me for well over 2 years and has been watching my content every day for the last year, just to get comfortable with making a decision. And I have no problem with that. I don't think she took too long. She could have took even longer. I hear that so often because it is a very bold decision to decide to meet a complete stranger in his dungeon.
Yeah.
Like imagine something going wrong and telling that story and everybody's looking at you like, what did you think was going to happen?
Right, exactly.
So, I get it. Take your time, do your due diligence, make sure that you're comfortable. I have hundreds of reviews because I have hundreds and hundreds of clients that all agree that it was a marvelous experience. And they walk you through literally everything on my website during the reviews. But as crazy as it may sound, they're not talking about the details of what happened. They're talking about the psychological experience, how safe they felt, how consensual things were, how comfortable things were, and of course, how consistent I was with my character, and even in person.
Wow. Mm-hmm. It's a whole thing.
Yes. And then orgasm.
and the orgasm. Multiple.
Yes, multiple.
So I know you like science.
Yes.
And we actually talked about some of the science already.
Yes.
Are there other sciencey things that you incorporate into your practice when it comes to desire and arousal?
Yes. I would just say that, we need to focus less on genitalia and understand that there are sometimes things that we could do that are non-physical that could be much more powerful, And when you think about that, that's when you are kind of tapping into the science of mental stimulation, understanding that the reason that erotica does so well is because women require that mental stimulation. They desire that mental stimulation, and it's not enough, and understanding that the difference between men and women is most men are visual creatures. We like what we see, and that's enough to kind of turn us on. We're like light switches, right? Mm-hmm. We see boobs and it's like, oh, I'm hard, I'm ready to go. Meanwhile, a dick pic doesn't do it for a woman, right? However, it's a different type of video you can send that actually does work.
And what is that?
Well, that's moaning, and that's a cum shot video, and that is, you just
men moaning.
Yes, men moaning,
sending it to their partner.
Men moaning while
jerking off.
Yes. How vivid am I able to get with it?
You can be vivid. So you're masturbating and moaning and send that video. That is actually hot.
Consensually sending a video to someone that who obviously is interested, and you have that consent to sending them a video. Yes. Sending a video like that where you are taking your time and you are pleasuring yourself and you are using lube so that it's not ashy. You got good video, good lighting, all of that, being intentional. The thing that women enjoy is seeing intentionality. Yes. Don't just treat me like I'm just a hole or just an opportunity. Right. Let me know that you thought about this.
Yes.
You gave some, and that even occurs even when you're talking about trying to turn them on with something that you're giving them. So make sure your lighting is well. Make sure that your thing is not looking ashy. Make sure that it's a good visual. Make sure that you are as engaged and you're moaning. She wants to hear you. She wants to hear your pleasure. One of the biggest things I hear in my coaching program that women dislike is quiet sex. Because that makes, again, it creates anxiety. What is he thinking about? Do I look good? Do I sound good? Do I smell good? Do I taste good? Do I feel good? All of these different things. Tell her. And one way that you can do that is tell her through your senses. Yes. You look so good.
Yes.
You smell so good.
Ooh.
You feel so good. You taste so good.
And we want men to moan. Like, and we
moan.
It.
Yes, moan. Let it out. And also you can tap into your pleasure more when you take the time to moan and you feel the experience. What happens is we are so focused on trying to appear sexier than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Just be present in that moment.
Just be sexy.
Just
Don't
be
appear sexy.
Yes.
Like Paris Hilton says, just be hot.
Just be hot.
My last question for you is, what is aftercare and how do you practice? So
aftercare is the way that you end a scene. I always tell people that it's not always how you begin. It's not always how things happen during the moment, but sometimes it could be more about how it ends. We've all had experiences where we've had a very intimate experience with a person and it felt like they left us high and dry. Oh, I'll see you later. And it's like, oh man, I kind of feel like a cheap prostitute now. You know what I'm saying? Hold me. Let's talk. Let's discuss what it might need, what might need to happen after this particular experience, especially when you're talking about BDSM, because like I mentioned, you could feel like you're coming down from a very powerful high. So some people might want, some chocolate. Some people might want cuddles. Some people might want a warm shower. Some people might want to watch a movie, smoke a blunt, or have a sip, or go for a walk, or whatever it may be. But prioritizing that person's needs after that particular scene on both ends, not just the submissive or the bottom side, but also the dom. We're understanding that the dom's job is to keep you safe the entire time. And that's a lot of pressure and a lot of energy that they're exerting. So check on that person. Hey, babe, this is an amazing experience. Is there anything you need? Can I rub your back? Can I rub your feet? Can I rub your shoulders? You need a cup of water? You want to, let's talk about what you may need to make you feel appreciated after sharing so much of the most sacred parts of you with me.
So feeling cherished,
yes,
and comfortable.
He's cherished and comfortable and prioritized. Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
What's your favorite aftercare?
My favorite aftercare? Great question. I love a good shower. From time to time, I may smoke. So a little weed, take a couple puffs, and of course, eating. I love to eat. I'm a foodie, so
after sex, it's so good. It's so good.
Definitely.
I love having sex before we go to dinner.
Yes.
Because I'm like, after dinner, I'm so tired. If I have a bunch of pasta and 2 glasses of wine, I'm out.
Yeah, out of it. Yeah. But eating after sex, is a whole different thing. Yeah. Now I'm ready. I've done built up that appetite. And then we might actually do it again.
Yeah, exactly. I actually really like cuddling and watching cartoons.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Child
yeah.
At heart. I love Rick and Morty. It's sciencey stuff. I love Family Guy. So that, being naked and cuddling and just watching cartoons together. That's aftercare. I feel appreciated.
I love that.
I really hate when my sexual partner has to immediately leave. That's such a bad feeling.
Yeah. As much as we like to compartmentalize things, we want to make sure that people feel like human beings sharing human experiences.
And that is the essence of our whole session today, this whole episode. I feel like you spend a lot of time humanizing your whole experience and prioritizing your sexual partner of that session. That's so beautiful, just because we don't hear men talking about that often.
Right. Yeah, and it could. I believe that having more pleasurable experiences can really lower the rate of infidelity and changes and dissatisfaction in a lot of relationships. We're looking for novelty when we're exploring things with other people, and I'm not going to tell you that everybody cheats for the same reason, but I can tell you that boredom is a thing that happens to everyone. You can experience the best thing, but after doing it for 10 years over and over, it could become something that's not as exciting. So looking for different ways to bring and create different experiences with you, having a journey, reading things and being excited to share with your partner, babe, I was reading about this.
Yeah.
What do you think? Let's talk. And that is some way to keep things spicy and keep things alive. Everybody doesn't have to put fire on the pussy, but I've been able to make women actually come from putting fire and temperature play on their private parts.
Coming without penetration.
Yes, it's definitely a thing.
We love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you come all the way from New York, but we really just appreciate having you on Love Bites. And I think this has been such eye-opening session and episode. Well, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at sirmarvelous.com. All of my socials are connected to my website. The best thing that you can do is to join my mailing list at sirmarvelous.com. down because, as you know, being a sex worker, sometimes we get shadow banned on some of the more popular platforms. So if by any chance, you're not able to find me on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that, being on my mailing list will let you know where I'm always at.
And I'll link that in the episode description.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure. And like I mentioned, I'm a huge fan and I appreciate your work, and you are very much needed in this community.
Thank you. And my Love Bites fam, I wouldn't be here without you. Thank you so much for watching, listening, liking, sharing, commenting, all of the things. I'm wishing you an orgasmic day, and bye.
Thanks for listening. This was Love Bites.
Love Bites.
By Dr. Tara. Follow Dr. Tara on social media at lovebites.co. Have an orgasmic day.